I'm gonna cut this off anyway, but it's Milou, right? Milou? Is that how I say your name?
Yeah, Milou.
Milu. Okay, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Awesome. Okay, well, we're recording. Milu. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Really glad to have you here. Yeah, before we jump in, I have a lot of things I want to ask you and just learn from you and share with our audience here on the podcast. But would you just take a minute or so and just introduce yourself? And we'll jump in.
Yeah. Yeah. So my name is Milou. I often go by Mel, and I'm the founder and social media strategist at Simply Multimedia, an agency that I started myself around almost 5 years ago now. We mainly work with creators and brands, and that one marketing strategies that are data driven, get them results, and for those that want to disrupt in their industry.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. We connected, I want to say, not too long ago. It feels like a little while ago, but 2, 3 weeks maybe
I know.
ago, or maybe a
Yeah.
month on LinkedIn and learning some things. And yeah, and then we hopped on a call, and I guess we discovered that there's a really good fit for us to actually work together on the Uscreen side of things. And so I wanted to invite you because your expertise, I think, really speaks to our audience here on the podcast of content creators. And so would love to. I know you run an agency. We're gonna get into all that stuff, but I'm actually just really curious how you got into this industry in the first place.
Yeah, so I did study media and advertising initially in college. I studied a bit of PR as well. And so when I graduated, I always had this dream, to work for a big agency. And I graduated, and actually, I got ghosted by every single marketing agency that I applied to. And so I kind of took matters into my own hands
Mm.
and said, well, I think this is my calling to start my own agency. And that's when I started to freelance and kind of just, jumped in.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, so you started freelancing. Who were your first like clients? Like what you don't have to name names, but what industries were they in, and I guess what were you helping them with on the freelance side?
Yeah, so they were actually in the sports industry. So I'm a former Division 1 student athlete here in the US. That's how I originally came to the US on a full scholarship. And so it was someone within my network in this industry that needed social media help. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. They need help. I'm just getting started, right? And so I could get some experience, and I just started diving into the whole social media management because that's really something that I saw an opportunity in. Also, for a little bit of context, in my last years in the university, I was actually, as a student job, I was selling advertising for the university, and it actually went really well. I was very driven, and unlike most people that were just doing student jobs, but I felt like I needed experience, and I was getting sales experience to sell advertising, meeting a bunch of local business owners, and I was like, I can do this for myself, but like I don't have a magazine, I don't have advertising space to sell. And then it kind of came to my mind that social media is real estate that you can sell and manage for people, and so that's what I started doing.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I'm looking at your LinkedIn. So this was around 2017, 2018. You're in University of Texas. Awesome. I actually, when I was in Austin, I drove by and I saw. I think it was either the stadium or where the Longhorns play football. I think. I mean, I love football, and I was such. I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I was in an Uber on the highway, and I was like, oh, I wish I could stop and take a picture, but I couldn't, of course. But
Right.
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did go to the University of Texas in El Paso. I'm
Awesome.
now in Austin, but yeah, no, the university here is incredible,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, so what did you actually play? Just actually, you're a student athlete back in the day. So what was the
Yeah,
scholarship? What sport?
yeah. So I play tennis.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Okay, and so so you were doing, you were selling ads, you were doing like marketing for the university, and then you started, sort of freelancing. And then at what point of freelancing, like how long were you freelancing before you're like, I'm gonna turn this into an agency. I'm gonna, which is kind of like tie us into what Simply Multimedia is now. How did that kind of, how was that born, and what was the sort of
Yeah.
story behind that?
It was quite a journey, especially in the beginning. It was just me, of course, as a solopreneur, freelancer,
Mm-hmm.
just getting experience. I was definitely having, 5 side hustles just to support myself and building, my book of business.
Yeah.
Um, Coaching tennis was one of them, because, that's something I knew how to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, then from there on, I think when really COVID first hit,
Mm-hmm.
that's when kind of that took me off the tennis court, right? So it took that away. So it gave me time, well, to spend more time on the social media, spend more time on the business side of things and kind of grow that. And that's when that really kind of starts to become really full time, where I was like, oh, I can just do this. And the more time I spend on it, the more it grows.
Yeah.
And then from there on, as we got busier, I started to slowly scale for as much as I could with my own knowledge, right? Increase my prices, start hiring some team members and contractors. And it was still really hard just trying to figure out, business entrepreneurship. Until I reached a point where I hired someone, Heather, in my business, and she helped me really scale into like a proper agency
Mm.
with her team. And that's where we are now, Simply Multimedia. It started out as Simply Media and Advertising,
Yeah.
which was the name of my degree. But I wanted to offer more. And so we kind of, evolved in that sense.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it started with you, Heather, and then yeah, now you have a team. The at this point you're not creating content yet, right? Like I mean, like you don't have a YouTube channel quite yet or anything. That's not in the picture yet, right? When Simply
Yeah.
Multimedia was born.
Yeah, so I would say that I did have like my own Instagram for my personal brand and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I had nothing like YouTube and all those things. No.
Not yet, not yet. Yeah, okay, cool. We're gonna get into that because now you do have that, and that's actually a really fun, and looks like a really growing channel for you as well. But there's a lot of creators, and the reason I kind of spend a little bit of time here is a lot of creators that sort of create content and then they try to figure out how to monetize. One of the ways that they do is obviously services and agency work and that sort of thing, helping with video editing or copywriting or graphic design and other stuff like that.
Right.
So it's interesting to me that you started with the agency and then now we're gonna, and we'll talk a little bit here, but now you're starting to create a lot more content. And so the agency, how was it driving business then? How were you getting, new clients? Was it through your personal brand or referrals or?
Yeah, so everything was really through my personal brand and word of mouth from some
Wow.
people that I worked with. I
Yeah.
did so much free work too, just to get testimonials, right? Because especially if
Yeah.
you have no clients, you need some social proof. So, and my own brand it always served as a case study, even starting out. Like I always say I'm my own biggest client, and I
Yeah.
and I mean that. And especially in the beginning, that is all you have almost,
Yeah.
right? So why not experiment on yourself, create content, get better? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Like, yeah, that you're your own. I know a lot of folks that are in the agency world and have agencies. I myself used to work in the early days. This was like probably 2015 or 16. I worked in an agency. And the last website that we would ever work on is our own website. It would be the last thing
Yeah.
that we would ever work on. It's like, let's see, let's pay the
Right.
bills first. Let's do client work first, and then, by the way,
Yeah.
and we would get called out on it. Some people were like, "Hey, like the last time, because at the bottom of the website it'll say like copyright or whatever, 2020 or
Right.
2016."
Yeah.
Like,
A
hey, you guys are
year.
like last time it was updated. It still says 2015. It's already 2018. So yeah, I love that you say that. It is very important to. Because people, it's like your resume almost. When people hire you, they're like, what does
Right.
your brand look like?
Yeah.
Because you should care about that the most. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, that's really
Yeah. I
good.
think, yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I've always been super big on that. It's funny you bring it up because yes, especially it's almost like the bigger the agency gets, the more they put it on the back burner, right? But yeah, I think that's a whole conversation for another day. But yeah, I truly believe into, just practicing what you preach
Yeah.
as a marketer, as an agency. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very important. Yeah. So, okay. So now you are, probably. I mean, I'm curious. You're serving a lot of different verticals. Did you at some point start narrowing down to the type of business, the type of niche that you're serving? The services that you offered. Did you start sort of like focusing in on certain things? Versus being sort of a jack of all trades, serving everybody. Like, was there a point in that business, or
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, so like I kind of see it as a funnel that starts wide, goes narrow, and goes back wide again. So starting
Mm.
out, you take on whatever you can take on, right? Because you need the business, you need clients and experience and whatever. You don't know kind of where you want to dial into.
Yep.
And then you find out what you like, what you don't like, who you want to work with, who you don't want to work with. And so I narrowed down mainly in terms of our services at that point where I said, okay, I'm going to make Instagram my main focus. This is where I build my audience. I know Instagram like the back of my hand. So I can really, position myself as that Instagram expert so that people really come to me for Instagram alone. And so I did that for a while, and that went well. I mean, I built an audience and stuff like that, right? But after a while, I was like, I want to offer more. I don't want to just do Instagram. I want to do a lot more for our clients and create multi-channel strategies, right? We know how powerful that is. And imagine relying just on one platform, and tomorrow that platform, would be gone. I thought it was really important to again go a little bit wide again because I've now proven, what I can do. I have a good book of business, social proof. And so now we're going back into that situation where, again, I'm practicing what I preach. I started going outside of Instagram at that point. I started building multi channel strategies, audiences. And so now I was like, okay, now we can offer that for clients as well to kind of showcase what effect that has.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you, I'm looking at your website and services page actually, and so you've got some really interesting services here. It's not just social media management. You have partnerships, and so
Right.
like even that, like, can you kind of walk us through what that means? Like, if I'm a thought leader, your services here. I mean, obviously, you kind of expect content creation and management of your content and your channels and stuff. But like, what does partnerships look like? How does that play out in execution?
Yeah. So for us, partnerships right now at Simply Multimedia, it's really a combination of PR and social media. I don't just want to call PR because if we look at creators, it really comes down to brand partnerships, whether it's getting brand deals, getting paid to promote brands, or getting featured on a big podcast, right?
Yep.
And collaborating with other people in your field, getting in front of your target audience, whatever it may be. I mean, again, something we do for me in house a bunch, and something that we felt like creators need. And we often feel like the social piece is missing on the partnership side because
Mm.
it's actually a lot more complicated than social media, I find, because there's a lot of relationship building, right? A
Yep.
lot of strategy as well in there, combined with like social content strategy, that it's something we wanted to offer. Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah, it's a really well-rounded services, and it's really, I think, what I believe too is aligned with you here is like what's really going to work for the brand, the creator, like your client. It's not just content going out there, but like the behind the scenes
Right.
partnerships and yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's so good. Yeah, and a lot of creators just like simply don't have time for that. As they become entrepreneurs, they
Right.
just don't have time for the partnership stuff. They're so focused on
Right.
creating more content, more courses, more stuff, and
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think it's also like kind of, or like sometimes they just don't even know how. The amount of times I
Yeah.
see creators with large audiences, I mean, I'm talking couple 100,000, and they're not monetizing, and
Oh man.
that scares me, you know? Like I'm like, like what have you built? Like, what are we doing here? Because now you have an audience, but it's not serving you in any way.
Hmm.
And so I think a lot of creators perhaps don't even know how to approach that side of the business.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it is scary. I'm with you, Milou. Is like you'll see like, oh man, you have such a big following, and then you have conversations with them, and and how what's the business behind the scenes? What's the business behind the content? Oh, we do a lot of
Yeah.
brand deals. That's about it. Or like, oh, we
Yeah.
AdSense or creator funds. Like we make wow,
Right.
we're killing it on AdSense. It's like it's so volatile, right? It's so like dangerous,
Yeah.
because you have people on the payroll. These are not just solo creators anymore. They have people
Right.
on staff and people that rely on them to have, a paycheck and to be built
Yeah.
on revenue streams that are so volatile and so like, so vulnerable to market changes and shifts
Yeah.
and brand budgets and things like that. But yeah,
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 totally.
yeah. No, it's great that you guys are doing that. What I also like, and I'm just like, I love your website, by the way. It's like coming from the agency world. These are the things I'm like, I wish we
And
would
it,
have done
it does
this.
need a refresh
No,
though.
no,
I
no,
will
no.
say
Don't.
that.
Oh no, 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 no. Even just the positioning of you go down services, awesome. I want to keep going. You scroll down. What you guys will find, if you guys, I'll have a link to this in the show notes. Is you have to apply. I love that simply like little thing of like, oh,
Yeah.
request a consultation. It's like, no, you have to apply to work with us. And also, what you call out here is that
Yeah.
there's a requirement, 6 month commitment, and marketing budget. Setting that up front, I
Yeah.
think, is a really good, probably a really good filter for people that are just like,
Right? Yeah.
hey, I just want to test it out for a month. Like, no, it's not gonna work.
Right. Right. Or if someone gets question marks when they read marketing budget, then usually they're not, our audience, right? Or, even even just the application filters out everyone we would not want to work with. There are people that, oh, I don't have time to fill this out. Like, I mean, if you can't sit down to give us the details we would need to even see if it's worth a call or if it's worth, we don't want to waste anyone's time at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, especially your own, right? Because,
Right.
yeah, yeah, exactly. No, this is good. It's really smart. It's really smart. Now, on that note, I'm always really curious how, different entrepreneurs. How do you like level up, or how do you, just continue learning? Like, what's your, I think leaders are learners. I've always kind of stood behind that. I myself try to practice that as well, and learn from different podcasts and different online courses or even YouTube. But I'm curious, how do you continue sort of like, our industry moves so fast, Milou, right? So how do you continue
Yeah.
staying, ahead of the game?
Yeah, so I truly always believe in continuously investing in yourself, right? Because you expect other people to invest in you and stuff. And so yeah, 100%. I mean, if we're looking at free, like definitely podcast and some thought leaders that you follow and like being involved. I'm still like definitely involved in day-to-day work.
Mm,
So I definitely 100% know what's going on, right?
mm,
Because I feel like that is the easiest way. Spending time on the platforms itself, that's so valuable. And then I always try to invest into different creators, even if it's just to pick their brain for an hour and just get a different perspective or a different point of view from them to kind of see what we're doing, what they're doing. um, I believe in that too, and courses and stuff like that from different angles, like from a sales perspective, how can we make our marketing better, or just get different perspective because we're so marketing focused.
mm.
So that's something that I'm currently doing a lot into, like sales, marketing, the psychology behind it, launches, stuff like that.
Got it, got it. You find yourself, you're still fairly involved in your business, or have you taken more of that strategic CEO sort of like, you're not necessarily executing, but you are part of, you know what's happening, but you're not necessarily executing all the time. Like, what's sort of your mix now in your, I mean, as we're recording today in
Right.
2023?
Yeah, so it's still a big mix. It's still tough sometimes to let go of certain pieces.
Of
We do have a
course.
social media manager, community manager, and all the pieces in place. And I'm heavily involved in the strategy, but I'm also the one that oversees what type of content we're doing, what's going out, what needs to be changed. So it's a combination of both. And as we continue to grow, I'm trying to let go more and more. But at the same time, it's something I really, really enjoy. So that makes it
Mm.
harder too. I am a content creator at heart, you know. So
Right.
if I see something, I'm like, oh, we're hopping on this trend. I have an idea. I need to execute it because no one can look inside my head and know what I'm, envisioning. So I definitely jump in there from time to time.
I love that. I love that. Eventually, do you want to be in a place where everything is, you have a bunch of like specialists that execute and you are overseeing and you're maybe the face of the brand, or what's your ideal, if there is an ideal, like I feel like it's sort of seasons, and you said a really key word there, I think, is you enjoy it. So you enjoy it. So it's like,
Yeah.
why let it go? I enjoy it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So like I want to make sure I'm not letting go of things that I do genuinely enjoy. Of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
officially I'm supposed to sit in the CEO space, let everyone do their thing, but at the same time, if it's something I enjoy in certain areas, I think it's okay. I kind of pick and choose the clients that I can offer some extra support on, and have my input and be that content creator for us in certain areas. Especially when it comes to, for example, let's say video content on social. I think that is a gap that a lot of people have because a videographer and a content creator are two completely different things at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I see myself stepping away more than I am now, but still having, the content creation outlet for myself.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, you do that really well. I mean, yeah, I see your reels and stuff. It's just awesome.
Thank
Uh,
you.
you're doing that. All right, I'm gonna shift a little bit here because I did notice on your Instagram bio that you have this AI, world's first AI social media strategist. I'd love to just hear what that is. Like, tell us all about it. It's kind of
Yeah,
mysterious right now. I'm signed up for the
I
beta
know.
tester, but I just signed up for that. But yeah, tell us. Yeah, like what is that? What's your head at? Also, just kind of your heart right now in terms of AI and where that fits in the next year, 2 years.
Yeah, so I actually hired a development team a couple of months ago. I believe it was in September. And so the reason I haven't shared many updates is because we're working on the final version for people to get into.
Right.
The beta is currently ready, but it's a complete knowledge base based on my long form content, YouTube, but also Instagram. So all my knowledge we've put into a custom built Milou AI that you can ask questions, and we actually just now used it for a PR article where we had Milou AI answer the questions, and it kind of made me nervous. I was like, I don't know what they're gonna say, but the answers, they're surprisingly good and on point. And so yeah, I built that, and it's something that I'm looking to launch before the end of the year to the public, to give people access to my knowledge on a greater scale. And that's really what it is. And it will turn into a subscription model eventually, as well, to where, hey, you can try it out. But if you want to get ongoing access to this, it's going to look like this. And then we're even developing it to an extent where my avatar will respond to you in video and voice.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. You're like literally
I
like
know.
replicate yourself now, right? I mean, this
Right.
is definitely happening. Yeah, I mean, I can see that like
Yeah.
such an awesome service for in our space here, we Uscreen, w- like content creators use us to build memberships. And so they're
Yeah.
hiring different people, they're building a community, they want access. I think that's one of the biggest things that people pay for when they join a membership is not necessarily the,
Yeah.
say, content, or but they want access to. They're like, hey, maybe if I pay, I'm part of this membership, I'm like part of this smaller community that can ask questions and stuff like that. And so I think
Right.
this would be such a cool, if everyone that has a membership also has an AI version of themselves,
Yeah.
their brain is
Yeah.
available 24/7.
Exactly. And that's kind of how I felt like this is the solutions for creators with large audiences. You get such general questions over and over again, right? It gets exhausting to have even a team to answer every single thing, especially if
Right.
it's something quote unquote basic. And I
Right.
see that with social media managers on my account too, it's always kind of the same questions. What if they could just, use my Milou AI to answer all those questions? It's still based on all my knowledge and everything you can find on YouTube. And like you said, 24/7 access. So that's really the reason I invested in that.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. I guess we're on the list. So, but can you give us a timeline on
Yeah.
when it might be available?
I will be sure to
Let us
send it to
know.
you first so you
Yeah,
can
there
check it
you
out.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so if you guys want to get on that beta list, there's a link in the show notes in the description. It'll be all there. So good, so good. Okay, cool. I want to be really respectful of your time, Milou, but for a couple minutes, I would love to just hear sort of like now you have a YouTube channel. Actually, one of the reasons we connected was actually there. I wanted to talk to you about your YouTube channel, and it's a really good fit. If you guys don't know, my day job is at Uscreen as head of partnerships, and so I have a really fun job of just looking at YouTube channels and people that we could potentially sponsor. So yeah, and so that's what we're talking about now. But yeah, how has your YouTube journey been? Like being a creator now,
Yeah.
like there, yeah, what's that experience like for you?
Um, Honestly, it's like one of the best things like I've done, I would say. Like I can already tell now, I'm always so committed to on the content creation side where I'm in it for the long run, right?
Yeah,
I'm not looking at a year from now. I'm thinking 5, 10 years from now, like my YouTube is going to be a beast, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, so I create weekly videos. The very first video I did took forever. Like it's hard to create long form content
yeah.
if you're not used to it. And now it's just part of my routine. I just, set up my camera and script everything and I'm good to roll. And so like I'm really excited where this whole journey takes me, but so far it's already been so good. The feedback I get from social media managers has been amazing because everything's free and I feel like I give away so much. It's a channel I needed honestly when I started out.
That's great. That's really good. And now it's going to be turned into AI eventually, so that's really fun. But actually, one question I'd love to ask you is because you started with Instagram and you really built your personal brand there. What do you feel is the difference, like for good or bad, or pros and cons, or there's a space for Instagram and space for YouTube, and there's purpose for both. But just like from somebody like you that's built, sort of like reach in both channels. What's the difference? Like, what's a couple things that you find that are like really different, or just what's your thoughts between Instagram versus YouTube or Instagram plus YouTube? As a combination.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think a big thing is that audiences are so different, like in each channel, right? Even if we're talking LinkedIn or like a
Yeah.
TikTok. And so, like, I tweak my content slightly for each platform based on what does best. But of course, a huge benefit of having YouTube is you can turn it into so many snippets. You literally have content for days once you start creating YouTube. And I noticed too, like, something about YouTube when you started. It's really, you kind of build an audience from scratch there. It's people that don't necessarily know me on Instagram. Sure, I may have some people that move over, but it's not the way you would think. It's not like, hey, I have 50,000 followers on Instagram. They're now all gonna be my YouTube subscriber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's actually a whole funny, humbling process too. When starting a new channel, you just attract different people in all areas. But at the same time, I notice people will follow me on all platforms because they get a different side of me everywhere.
Mm.
So it's just very interesting, the process.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so two different audiences. Are you? What's your? Are you repurposing? You said you're tweaking and customizing the content to the platform. You're not just one for one posting the same things, basically, right?
Right, right. So every now and then I'll take a video to LinkedIn or so, definitely to Reels, but even on Instagram I can create carousels about the topic I talk about in the video. You know what I mean? So like um, definitely seeing what works best on each platform. Like I like to keep video to a minimum on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
because yes, it does work nowadays, but I don't want to, overload people with video because I myself, I love the text posts on LinkedIn. That's honestly one of the reasons why I like LinkedIn. It's very copy first, right? Versus Instagram, where it's all about being creative and like, yeah, a whole different output.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes so much sense. Awesome. This has been really good. As we wrap up, I mean, if you guys are listening, you're content creators, you're trying to build your business and trying to figure that out, or you've already launched multiple revenue streams, but now you are at a point where you want to scale it. I mean, I definitely would recommend you connect with Milou. Milou, what's the best way for folks to connect with you or just continue learning from you past this podcast, and yeah, and just follow along your journey?
Yeah, so you can honestly find me on, I think, every social media channel under my name, Milou Pietersz, and I'm sure you will have it in the show notes on the spelling. I'm very active on Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course YouTube, where I post weekly videos to help social media marketers and honestly even create grow on their social media. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, I will definitely have it. I want to just like before we wrap, I love that poster behind you. Success, the predictable result of hard work. I think
Right.
I think that's a really I've never seen that poster before. I usually,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's the predictable result, and that's kind of what the vibe that I get from you is everything you're doing is sort of like systematic and intentional. I'm sure it's not perfect,
Yeah.
and you're learning and trying new things. But I really feel like that's really hard to nail down is how to create predictable revenue and also have systems. And so I feel like
Right.
you're a great person to sort of lead creators to do it that way. So thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Really appreciate your
Yeah, that was
time.
fun.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
really
I
fun.
will.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and excited to work with you. I will have all the links to in the show notes to all your things and all the channels. So you guys make sure you connect with Milou. All right, we'll see you in the next podcast. Thanks, Milou.
Awesome. Bye, guys.